position where we're able to earn commissions on the deals and things that we do. Do lenders or like the SBA, do they typically allow us to credit commissions towards it, or do you have to have the cash up front before you're able to close on the deal? So like in real estate, I'm sorry, I come from the real estate world, so I'm kind of trying to patch up the difference between the two. But like in regular real estate, you're able to take your commissions and credit it towards your down payments and things like that. Is it the same way on this side of the world or no?
Not that I'm aware of, but my question is, why would you ever want to do that? Because first of all, your buyer, if your buyer can't afford, first of all, if your buyer can't afford a down payment, then they're probably the lender's probably not gonna underwrite them anyways, because not only do they need sufficient down payment, they also need working capital. So if every last dime they have is being put down on the business, the lender's gonna say no, because they won't be able to operate it. If you got to have working capital, you got to have enough money to run the business. So lenders, now there is a possibility a lender will add some working capital to the loan. So as long as the borrower owns enough collateral to collateralize the loan, they're going to have to own some real estate or something so that the lender feels secure in loaning money to them in the first place. But yeah, as a broker, it's hard to earn. I mean, we work really hard, and sometimes you'll work on a deal for 2 years and it'll blow up and you get nothing. So you do not, I mean, it's just not a good practice to donate your commissions to anybody for any reason.
No,
I mean,
I'm not saying
donate to
donating your
charity,
commission
but
to anybody. I mean for making purchases for yourself. So I'm not under the assumption that the person has no money at all. Maybe they have some money in the bank, but they like enough to, I guess, sustain the business as far as working capital is concerned. But maybe they're able to potentially purchase the business without having to bring anything that they personally have, other than the equity that it took them to actually get the deal done. Is that not a thing?
no, I mean, so it also in our world would be potentially considered a conflict of interest if you end up in court. Um, it's just not a good practice. So I would say, in terms of deal structure, there are times when the seller's going to carry a note for the buyer. So SBA requires 10% down. Let's say you've got a $500,000 business. So buyer needs to come in with 50 grand. And maybe the buyer wants to make sure the seller sticks around. Maybe the cash flow isn't sufficient enough where the lender says, I'm comfortable with 90%. I'm only going to loan 85%. You need, buyer, you need to come in with 15%. If you can't do it, have the seller carry a note for the other 5, because as lender, I'm only going to put in 85% of the loan. So, or of the purchase price. So there's different ways to structure things with buyer and seller. But as the broker, yeah, you don't get involved in that, because it can be conflict of interest, and it can cause you all kinds of problems down the road. Same thing with, I've seen some brokers that are willing to, in lieu of commission, accept equity in a business. It's like buyer starts a new LLC, something, and broker says, oh yeah, well, just give me some equity in the deal and in lieu of commission, and then they work something out with the seller. And again, it's just it's frowned on by the courts. And every deal you do, you have to assume that, as much as we try to stay out of court, business is business. And if you're in business for long, there's a high probability, at least here in California, you're going to end up in a courtroom. So you always want to look at everything through the view of, how does this look like to a judge or to a jury?